Hey everyone, Jason here with another episode of The Gamer Side. This is where I take a break from my publishing nonsense with Phase Shift Games and shed some light on my gaming side. Today we're going to do a review of all of the games that we played on a series of days back-to-back, kind of 6/11, June 11th, June 14th, and into June 15th. So that was a Wednesday night at a local game cafe, and then our normal Saturday gaming, and then another game on Sunday. So it was a pretty epic week for gaming. So let's cover all the games that we played and give you my review of each of them. So it starts on 6/11, Wednesday night. I showed up at Back Again Cafe in Middletown, Connecticut, and some people were already playing this, and I hopped in on the second round because it's a super fast game. The game is Similo. Now, this wasn't the version that I played, but this is the version I own. Similo is a super simple filler game. It's a deck of cards. They have 5 or 10 different versions of it. Each of them is just a deck of cards, and they all have pictures on them. And essentially, one person is the clue giver. The rest of the people are the guessers. It's a cooperative game. So the clue giver, you randomly deal out, I think, 12 cards. And the clue giver looks at one of them. That is the card that he or she needs to get everyone else to guess. So then they put that card back in the stack of 12, shuffle it all up, and lay all 12 cards out on the table face up, I think in a 4x3 grid. From there, the clue giver draws another hand of cards, another 5, and from the 5 cards in the hand, they choose one to place face up next to the laid out 12 cards. And essentially it's a clue. Something in the picture of the card that they put on the table matches the card that you want them to guess. But basically what's happening is each round the players are removing some number of cards. So what the clue is to say, let's say it's a super simple thing, like the background of the card that I'm placing out is green, and the card that I want them to ultimately guess has a green background. So what the players are going to do is look and say, if they picked up the fact that the clue was about the background color, because it might be about the foreground, the person, the creature, whatever. There's all different kinds of pictures. So the people have to decide, okay, well, these cards all have blue backgrounds, so clearly they're not the ones matching here. So they're going to remove those. Ultimately, over the course of a few rounds, round 1, the players have to remove 1 card that matches the clue that I put out, or doesn't match, that you get what I mean. Round 2, they have to remove 2 cards. Round 3, they have to remove 3 cards. Round 4, they have to remove 4 cards. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the last round, there's only 2 cards remaining. One is the correct card and that they need to guess, and one is a bad card. They need to remove that last card. And that's it. So after each round, the clue giver draws another card into their hand of 5, so they always have a choice of which cards to draw and which cards to place out. If you're familiar with games like Mysterium, Dixit, there was that other one that was like the sequel, Obscurio. This has that same vibe. It's just a picture on all these cards. Now, the versions that are out there, they have fables, animals, mythology. The one I have is board games. And this is a key point. I think in order for this game to really work, you need to have one of the themed decks that almost everyone at the table has good familiarity with. I have one here for board games. I won't play this because most people in my group are casual gamers, even ones that are more accomplished gamers. They still don't know the designer of most of the games. They don't know the artist for most of the games. So if I put out a card that represents the game Carcassonne, and on the table is a smattering of cards representing games spanning from everything from Catan to Fromage to Master of Orion, and if I put one out and my clue is essentially that they're from the same designer, or they both have area control mechanics, or they are of the designer or the artist, Beth Sobel. Like, most people aren't going to know those things. So I don't think this is a good example. I got this at Essen in 22, Spiel Essen. I think they were just giving them out as like promos. I think a good deck would be something like the Fables, where everyone has familiarity with Hook and Peter Pan and stuff like that. Or Animals, where everyone understands what zebras and lemurs and, fun exotic animals are. Where you can find those similarities, like they might both have fur, they might both have scales, they might be brown, they might be aquatic-based animals, right? Like those are the kinds of clues that you want to be able to put out. So anyway, it is a super approachable filler game. It only takes like 5 minutes to play. I just think that you do need to get a set that most people will be familiar with. So what can I say? What else can I say about Similo? Fitty factor. As far as game setup, there is no fitty factor. You just draw out the deck of 12. One gets seen randomly by the clue giver. The rest are laid face up. It's super simple. And gameplay, there's no fitty factor there either. It's just a really straightforward, elegant game. Oh, I should have said, when you play the clue out, you can play it, I believe, vertically, which means the clue I'm giving matches the final card. Or you can play it horizontally, which means the clue I'm giving has something that is dissimilar from the card that I want you to guess. So that's there's a little bit more interesting choice there in terms of, are you going to play it face up or not face up or face down, vertical or horizontal. In any case, pimp out potential is unnecessary. You just need the deck of cards. There's nothing to pimp out here. So, very straightforward game. I'm going to give it a score of 7. I think it's a good filler. I look forward to owning a different set than this one. I think it's cool that I own the board games version as a novelty. I don't think I'd ever play it. I don't think I have a group of people who would know enough of the stuff. Even if you understand... No, you have to have played all the games that are going to be out on the table. If you don't know what one of those games is, you have no idea who the designer is, what the mechanics are, who the illustrator is, who the publisher is. You just have no idea. So I don't think this is a great example of it. But I do look forward to owning one of the other sets. In any case, that is Similo, and I give that a 7. And next we have Flip 7. This is exploded. This game's everywhere. This game is on the shelf at big box stores and is has just absolutely exploded in popularity. And for good reason. So Flip 7 is a push your luck game. In here is basically a large deck of cards. I'll get back to the box form factor in a minute. But the deck of cards is really simple. Imagine that they're just numbers for the most part. You have one card that has the number 1 on it, 2 cards with the number 2, 3 3s, 4 4s, all the way up to, I think, 11. So there's 11 11s in there. There's also a 0, 1 0. Then there are some modifier cards, which are kind of like bonus cards, we'll say, where it just says +1, +2, +3, and there's one that's a ×2. So those are score modifiers, and those are good. You want to get those. And then there's specials, and there's 3 special cards. It's like freeze, draw 3, and one other. All right, that's the entire deck. So what you are trying to do is you get dealt 1 card to start with, and it's kind of like blackjack. You're hit or stay. Those are your choices, hit or stay. So you want to keep hitting and getting another card added in front of you until ultimately you really want to get to the point where you get 7 cards in front of you, because you get a major bonus to your score if you can get 7 cards in front of you, but they all have to be unique. As soon as you have 2 of the same number, like 2 4s or 2 11s, you bust and you're out. So it's a push your luck. You want to keep getting cards until the point where the risk is too great. Because if you have an 11 and a 9, remember what I said earlier, there's 9 9s in that deck, there's 11 11s in that deck. You now have 2 cards that, I don't know the odds that I've figured out, but like you might already, like 40% of the deck might be 9s and 11s that, you have a good chance of busting. But if you can successfully hold the line at some point, you keep the points of all those cards, the face value of all the cards that you have in front of you, you get all those as points. And if you have a multiplier like ×2, that doubles the points. And if you get those other modifiers, that only adds to the points. And the modifiers, you don't have to worry about the duplicates. So, and ultimately, if you get 7 unique cards, at that point you get a major bonus to your score, and you will hold. I don't know why you'd ever go on to adding an 8th at that point. Flip 7. So really, really clean game. Really simple rules. It looks really pretty, too. Just the artwork on the cards is really impressive. It's fast, it's easy, it's nice looking, it's a kind of fun, push your luck style game. The special's really quick. So I mentioned, I think freeze, draw 3, I forget what the third one is, but so draw 3 you would use on someone else. You're basically saying you immediately draw 3 cards and you're hoping that they will bust by having to be forced to draw those cards. Freeze, you play on somebody and they have to stop where they are. Without drawing any more. And the last one is one that you keep for yourself until you want to. Oh, it's a second chance. So this is great. You want to get the second chance and you hold it to the side. If you ever draw a card that's a duplicate, you can immediately discard the second chance and the duplicate and then keep going. So it gives you a second chance. That's it. That is the entire game. You keep track of your scores on a piece of paper until somebody has 200 points. And then you win. Great game. As far as pimp out potential, here's what I'm going to say. The box, depending on which version of the box you have, is your pimp out potential. Otherwise, there's nothing to pimp out here. It's just a deck of cards. But this box, the one that I have here, is so awful. I'm so angry at it. I'm pissed. It is such an awful form factor. First of all, as you try to pull open the top flap, you're creasing this shiny, what's supposed to be a nice looking packaging here. You're creasing it to open it, and then you have half of the deck that's stuck in the top half of this, and the other half of the deck that's in the bottom half of this, and you have to kind of finagle them in there, and then slide the instruction sheet in either in front of or in back of all those cards without it getting crushed. And then you've got this stupid retail topper here, which you have to kind of fold in and have it not tuck under the cards. And it's so unwieldy and annoying. I can't believe that this is the packaging. I mean, the top part needs to not be there. It really should have been a telescoping box. I'm dinging this points based on the box alone. I think the game's great. I want to own this game. I literally may upgrade to a different version. They have a version with a much larger box, obnoxiously large for this game. You don't need a box larger than this. You just need a better box than this. This is the stupidest type of packaging for a box. I want to throw it out, put the deck of cards in something else, but I need it to be in something that I'll recognize if it's on a shelf. If it's just in some like Magic the Gathering opaque black box or something, plastic, with the flip top lid. Those are nice boxes, but I never remember that it's even on my shelf. So I'm really annoyed by the packaging. For that reason, it's going to get a 7. It's going to stay in my collection for now until I find a better version. They also have a smaller tuck box version that is more like what like this Similo box here. It's more like this. It's thicker, so that it just has the deck of cards that you slide in from the top. That's better even than this. I think that's a version that they only give out at conventions, though. So I don't think it's terribly accessible other than at a convention. In any case, Flip 7's a great game. It really is a fun, push your luck, simple filler game that you could play a couple times, or just, this is like one of those casual Sunday afternoon, after Thanksgiving dinner, something like with family and friends, and just really, really straightforward, simple game. Just the box is really unfortunate. That's it. Fitty factor is next to none. I mean, setup is super simple. Gameplay, a little bit of fittiness with some of those specials. If you draw a special card as your first card, and it's like the freeze, and you have to play it on somebody else immediately, so they could be essentially out of the round before they even got to go, before they got to take their turn. Unless I did something wrong with that, I got to reread that. But in any case, a little fiddliness there, but by and large, great accessible game. That is Flip 7. Now we have Forgotten Waters. I am so glad I made the decision, while I'm waiting for Wandering Galaxy from Plaid Hat while I'm waiting for them to finish the app for Wandering Galaxy, which I backed on Kickstarter. I got the Kickstarter in December. I have the box sitting over there, but they haven't finished all the voiceover narration in the app. So I'm waiting. And it kept itching at me more and more that it's just sitting there staring at me. And I have this belief that it is the sci-fi epic narrative adventure that I've always wanted to find in a board game. And other games have tried but failed to meet my expectations. ISS Vanguard being the most notable and biggest disappointment. So anyway, I've been really holding out hope that Wandering Galaxy is going to be that game. But they're not done with the app, and I keep seeing all the updates. I know they're working on it. And so in the meantime, I decided, because I had credit at Noble Knight Games, I knew they had these two previous games in the same line. They call it the Crossroads games. So Forgotten Waters is their pirate Crossroads game. Don't ask me which one came first. I forget if this one came first, or Freelancers, which is the fantasy Crossroads game. And then I know Wandering Galaxy is the newest Crossroads game. So I finally said, you know what? I believe enough, based on what I know, that the game series is going to be something I really latch onto and my group really enjoys. So I said, let me use some of this credit and get Forgotten Waters, because it's done. It was made 4 or 5 years ago. And the app, it's a web app essentially, but all the narration's done. The game is tried and true. It's proven, ratings off the charts. And I said, let's try that in the meantime and hopefully prove out that, yeah, this is the series for me and for my group. Well, conclusion is hands down, yes. This met and even exceeded the expectations I had. And this bodes super well for the fact that I also picked up Freelancers, and I have Wandering Galaxy sitting there. As soon as the app is done, we'll jump on that. The narrative in this game is so strong. Somebody online, I think, drew a comparison to an old DOS game called Secret of Monkey Island. I think they're spot on. That is the feel that I get from this. And because of the game model, it's a very lightweight game, unlike ISS Vanguard, right? Very heavy. Here, the mechanisms are so straightforward. You've got a boat. It's a cooperative narrative adventure, so everyone's playing together. We've got a boat, and people are playing different stations. You're either managing the hull, or you're managing the crew, or you're managing supplies. But each managing of all these stations is super simple. It's like a strip board, and you just have a token or two that you're moving back and forth, or a couple tokens that you put on top of it. So it's actually fun to manage the stations. It's really straightforward, and it's almost unnecessary. It's like it's there just to be like, yeah, our hull's getting low, and if it reaches 0, then the boat's going to explode, and we basically lose the game, and then you reset it up and start over. But the narrative is what this is all about, and the voiceover acting on the app is outstanding, and the game does not get in the way. Now, I was a little concerned. Is the game too lightweight? Because I think some people do feel that way with these Crossroads games, that it's almost like it's more of a experience as opposed to a game. Well, I'm not going to go that far. It is a game. You are making interesting choices. We are deciding as a group, is the ship going to go this way into these stormy waters, or over here in the sunny day waters, but it might be going a longer way around, and we are against a time clock based on the scenario, or there's this pirate hunting us, or whatever. And we maybe want to go in a more optimized route. So you are making those choices. We are choosing at every step of the way. Are we going to lose some supplies to do this thing, or to buy some upgrade or treasure? Are we going to feed the crew, or are we going to let them go a little bit hungry, and then there's going to be some discontent, but we're going to save some supplies, and supplies are getting low. Like, you have all sorts of those interesting choices, but they're rooted in a strong narrative. You have a scenario book, and you're going through, each page is essentially an area, right? It might be an island that you're on, or a port that you're docked at, and you can go into market and upgrade your ship and do different things, or you can go and talk to the captain in his quarters and learn more about the secret quest that we're all on. And you're choosing those things, and every player has a different character, and they're choosing different areas to go to. There's a little bit of a timed or real-time aspect to the game, but it's very, very minimal. And again, that concerned me at one point because I don't like real-time games in general. But this is just when you first go to a new page, there's the list of the areas. Let's say it's port. I can go to the market, or I can go talk to the captain, or I can go explore this cave, or I can do X, Y, or Z, whatever the 6 or 7 choices are. And that's all you look at. And then the timer starts, and you basically have, was it 40 seconds? 40, I think, seconds or 60 seconds to choose in player order where my pirate's going to go. I'm going to go to the market. And sometimes you can double up. 2 people could go to the market, but sometimes certain areas only 1 player can go to. And then sometimes there's a special one that like somebody has to go there. And if no one does by the end of the timer, then you get a little penalty or something like that. So that's the only timed element. It's just like deciding based on the names of the places and some big obvious icons as to like, if you go here, you're probably going to want to have really good aim skill or navigation skill. That's it. Just a couple big icons. That's what you're making your decision on. So that 40 seconds, that's fine. It actually adds to the narrative of the whole experience. It's like, oh, I missed that part of the cave. I probably should have gone to the cave because I was probably better at, navigating the tunnels than the player who did go there. But that's fine because you get another, essentially you're probably going to spend another day in that same place or be forced to leave and deal with the consequences. And then you're out at sea. Now, the way it is, I call this a semi-campaign game. When I think of a campaign game, Clank Legacy games, obviously, and even games that aren't Legacy. Let's take like Deep Rock Galactic, right, where there's like 12 big scenarios and you're going from one scenario to the next, and you're kind of progressing through this campaign, the strung together set of scenarios. In this case, it's episodic. That's maybe a better word for it. We played scenario 1, and we played it over multiple game sessions because you can save. Usually they tell you somewhere in the middle of a scenario, this is a great point to save, and here's how you do it. And then you can come back. And we did do that. So we spent, I don't know if it was 2 hours the first time we did scenario 1, and then another 2 hours, somewhere around that probably. And then we got to the end of the scenario, and we beat it. And there was a ending, a conclusion to the scenario, and then each of our characters had a story about like how well did each character do, because some characters maybe achieved their personal goals, some maybe didn't, and so we got to hear about all that. And now that's done. Scenario 1 is done. Those characters that we made, and you got a little, so like almost like a role-playing game where you got a little character sheet and you got pencil and you're marking like your skills that you as you level up and stuff like that. And we will memorialize those characters somehow, but they're done. They're like, that's it. Now we could move on and start a new game or a new scenario, which will use all new pirates and start from scratch. So it's campaign-esque in that you still might play a scenario over multiple sessions, but you will get to the end of that not after 10 sessions. It's much smaller. You could even do it all in one sitting, probably. So I like that as well. I like that you can... and by the way, even the scenario we did, I would replay that. I would replay that today. Because there's so many choices and some random tiles that you're exploring and ways that you could go. We might make very different choices again. And you would play with different pirates, with different backstories, with different skill trees, because the box included like 30 or 40 different pirates, captains. And in each scenario, each game, you're choosing a new one to play. And that's just the scenario that we already played. And then there's, I don't know, 4 or so other ones, and I think they get maybe bigger, maybe longer. So anyway, it's like the semi-campaign style. I don't know what else to call it. It's also semi-scripted, but not entirely. I mentioned the voiceover narration. Clearly there's an overarching plot to each scenario, but there's still all those choices that I said where it feels open. We don't have to move the boat towards this goal that we know is our end goal where we need to get to, we could go in a different direction and explore and find other islands. Now, we might waste time and we might lose supplies and not be able to get them back, and ultimately some big bad pirate's going to come and hunt us down or something, but you still have that choice. You have freedom of this semi-open world to explore. Okay, if it's not obvious, I'm gushing about the game. It is exactly what I wanted. It is the right level of heaviness, which is not heavy at all. It's lightweight on the rules, but heavy on the narrative, heavy on the experience. We had just raw fun. We really enjoyed the adventure feel of this. And we will many more times. And that's just Forgotten Waters. And then I got Freelancer sitting behind me, and I got Wandering Galaxy over there. Guys, this is a 10 out of 10. This is probably among my top 5 favorite games of all time. And I assume the other two will be as well. We'll see how different they are once I crack them open, whether I consider all 3 of them really just one game with different skins. I don't think so. I think they are doing different things in each of them that I will likely consider each of them among my top X games of all time, as opposed to wrapping them into one for the Crossroads game series as a whole. Whatever the case, I am thrilled with Forgotten Waters. As far as pimp out potential, I did find that a 3D printed insert really helps this. I found one online that I could printed it out, little card trays, token trays, just helps keep things organized. I mentioned when you're setting up the scenario, maybe I didn't mention, when you set up the scenario, there are different hexagonal tokens that represent coral reefs and little islands and pirate ships that are hunting you down and stuff like that. And they all have an index number on the back. So you kind of want to keep those in order. And the insert that I found just has nice spaces for the different sets of those tokens so that you can easily find the ones that you need as you're setting up the game. So the game setup fiddly factor it's low. It's not none, because again, you do have to find the exact right tokens and set them up. You do have 7 ship stations that need to be manned, and you have to divvy them up amongst the players, and everyone has to understand how they're going to manage the supplies and so on. That's really it, though. So low gameplay or game setup fiddly factor, and then gameplay also low. I won't say none. There is an app, and I assume you need to use the web app. I forget if they give you a way. I wouldn't. I would use the web app. As much as I used to be opposed to app-enabled games, this is the one where it works, and it works so well, and it creates this environment experience for the players that's awesome. But you do need to use it, or I think you need to use it. Maybe there's a way to not, but I don't know why you would. So you are using the app. Someone has to kind of manage that. You do need to follow the instructions exactly. You don't, for example, you might move your ship onto a token, and the token says, has the number on it, the index number. Well, that's also the number that you're going to punch into the app, and then it'll read to you about the location. Well, don't punch that number into the app until you're told to punch that number into the app. So it's little things like that. You have to follow the order. You have to follow the process. But it is straightforward once you get used to it. There's just a couple times where it's like, wait a minute, do we not yet get to see what happened in the stormy waters? It's like, no, we got to wait until we get to the end of this page, and then read have it read out the end of the page log. And in that, it will say, now, if you're on a new location, read that or punch in that number into the app. So with those low fiddliness factors present, regardless, 10 out of 10, I am stoked that we own and are playing Forgotten Waters, and that bodes super well for Freelancers and the other one, Wandering Galaxy. Okay, next up, on the 15th, this is my wife and I, we played Riftforce. This is a 2-player game. It's a lane battler, much like, and I'm saying these names because I am going to compare them, much like Radlands and Compile. Other 2-player games that are lane battlers. So in Riftforce, you have a row of cards in the middle that represent different zones, I think 5. And there's a couple over to the side where you keep score as well. But the 5 zones, I'm going to play cards on my side of those 5 zones. My opponent is going to play cards on their side of those 5 cards. And essentially what you're trying to do is control lanes where I have cards on one of my side and the opponent has no cards on their side. Because on my turn, I'm going to take one of 3 actions, and one of those actions is to essentially score the lanes. Any lanes where I have cards and my opponent does not, I get a Riftforce point. And then I move my scoring token. There's other ways to get Riftforce points. Every time you eliminate one of the opponent's cards, you get a Riftforce, and 1 or 2 other things. The turns are really straightforward and simple. You have a hand of cards, and you are either going to play 3 cards from your hand that match, up to 3, that match the number. And the numbers are basically 4 through 7, 4 through 6. Really, like 4, you have 4s, you have 5s, and you have 6s. I forget if there's 7s. And so they have a number, or they are of the same faction. So fire, for example, water, lightning, sand, I believe, time, right? There's all these cool, like, mystical, sci-fi, magic kind of factions. And so you have this hand of cards of those different factions and the different numbers. You can play 3 cards that are the same faction or 3 cards that are the same number. And you place them out in these different lanes, either all in the same lane or in 3 adjacent lanes. Then that's one action that you can do, is playing the cards. Or the second action you can do is activating cards, and you can activate 3 cards that are, I believe, of the same faction or the same number. Do I have that exactly right? It's at least close. And how you are activating them, now you reference, essentially. So you have fire, let's say in my deck I have fire, lightning, water, and sand. Well, on the side, I have a reference card for each of those. And it says every time you activate a fire character or card, here's what it does. And it's a very, 1 or 2 sentences, usually pretty straightforward. Or every time I activate a lightning, here's what it does, or thunder. That's the second action. And those actions are going to, move things around on my side, move things around on your side, do damage to things on your side, hopefully killing them, giving me rift points, and opening up the lane so that you have no one there and I have characters on my side. Where I'm going to get rift points when I take the third action, which is to score and essentially redraw my hand of cards. That's it. Those are the 3 actions. So at the start of the game, to set up the game, of the 8 or 10 factions that come in the base box, and then there's another 4 or 6 in the expansion called Beyond, you're essentially choosing or drafting 4 each player. And you take all the cards for those 4 factions and you shuffle them all up. So you get all the fire, lightning, whatever I said, water, sand. Let's say that those were mine. I take all the decks of those, I shuffle them all together. That is my deck for the game. My opponent chose a different set of 4 factions. They shuffle theirs together. And that's what we're drawing from and activating. That is really it. So each of the cards themselves have no writing other than the number and the faction that they're from. There's no special abilities. All the cards are essentially the same except for the number and the faction that they're from. So, it's a very easy lane battler. It is pretty. I like this style of sci-fi magic. It's the best way that I'm going to put it. It's easy to teach, easy to learn. It takes under half an hour to play. Fiddly factor, it's got low setup fiddly factor. It's not none, because it does have the whole, you have to separate out these decks of the different factions and then figure out which 4 I'm going to play, which ones you're going to play, and then we shuffle those together. And the gameplay fiddly factor is also low, but not none. The fiddliness there would come in, okay, I want to activate my... oh, I remember now. That's right. That second action where I'm going to activate cards, I have to choose a card from my hand, play it, discard it, essentially. Whatever card that is a number and a faction, right? So that is saying I can either activate 3 of that faction or 3 of that number. So if it was a 4 fire, then that means I can activate 3 4s or 3 fires. Okay, so that was that. In any case, when you activate, you do have to reference those cards on the side. Now, eventually, you're just going to know them. You're going to know how fire works every single time. But usually, each of these factions have like 2 parts to their like when the cards activate. There's kind of 2 parts. First, you do this. Maybe it's moving, and then you do this, doing damage. Or maybe you can somehow capture a card if you end up doing enough damage to it, and it comes over to your side. A lot of times the cards, actually probably almost always, anytime it does damage, it says it will damage either the first or the last opponent's card in the lane. What that means is first would be the first one that they had played there, because I can play multiple cards to the same lane. They kind of stack up, and the first one is here, then the second one goes partially overlapping it, then the third one partially overlapping it. And so when you're damaging the opponent, you might damage the first one that they played there, which is the one that's kind of closest to the top, closest to the lane cards or the zones, or the last one, which is the one furthest from the zones. In any case, it's light fiddliness, but not bad at all. Pimp out potential, I would say the expansion here, if you call that pimping it out, the expansion is called Beyond, and it really adds exponentially to the game. Just adding those extra factions has that many more permutations of a cool, like, combined deck that I'm going to play for a particular game. It also adds team mode and modes for like 3 players, 4 players. Maybe it even added solo, which I don't generally care about. I'm less excited about the team, and like, to me this is kind of meant to be a 2-player game, much like if Radlands came out with a 3 or 4 player or a team mode or something. I'd probably try it. I'd probably say like, oh, that sounds cool, and then be like, yeah, it's not really how the game was meant to be. I kind of feel like that about this. Other than that, there's really nothing to pimp out here. It's cards, and they're really nice. So with that, my score for Riftforce is a 7.5. It is another one that I will keep and enjoy. It's another variety that we add to our collection of similar games. Now, would you need to have this if you already have Compile or Radlands or both? I would say no. There's no, like, they are very similar experiences, these lane battlers. Of course, they each bring their own flavor and their own mechanisms, but by and large, they are similar game models. For me, Compile is an 8 and Radlands is a 9. So Riftforce is not quite at that same level at the 7.5, but still very enjoyable, and I will keep it to have the variety living alongside the other 2. And that is it for my game days, starting on 6/11, taking us through 6/14 and then 6/15. Played some great games, and those are my reviews. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.